Welcome to the Potter discussion.
Welcome back to the Potter discussion. This is episode 93, and on today's episode, we will be discussing my experiences in Harry Potter, New York. Let's do this. Alright, welcome back everyone. I am very excited to be recording today because we are talking about Harry Potter, New York. I went to the new Harry Potter store in Manhattan in the past couple of weeks, and boy, was it so fun. It was so exciting to see how much the fandom has come along in the many years since the release of the first Harry Potter books and movies. So I'm excited to be talking to you guys today about how amazing this Harry Potter store was, and I highly recommend it. If you're in the New York area, I would definitely recommend going to the Harry Potter store because it was, honestly, it was probably the best Harry Potter thing that I've almost ever done. I mean, besides this podcast and maybe Universal, it was a very, very, very fun thing to do. Man, mostly because it was just, you could see everyone else who loves Harry Potter in that store with you, and you could just see how much the world loves Harry Potter, and it was a great experience. I went with some friends and family, so it was great, and I'm going to be talking about it today with you, so let's just get into this. However, before we begin today's episode, I will remind you that the SpeakPipe page link and the Google Form link are still available in the show notes below. Just click either of those two links and send in your best comment, question, topic, Quizmaster question, or joke. I love to hear what you have to say. It'll only take a minute of your time, and it is completely free. Alright, let's get into this episode. The first thing I want to talk about in today's episode is scanning your code and getting your time. So this is how you get into the store, the Harry Potter store, is you walk into the, main area. You're not inside, but there's a street corner, and there's a huge QR code that they put out every morning to scan and get the time where you go in the store. Of course, you can't flood in right when it opens. So I actually managed to get there quite early, and I think I was like the 97th person in line, which sounds like a lot. Admittedly, it sounds like that's a ton, but it's a really good time. 96th. I've heard of some people who are, getting the 1000th place or 2000th place and get in at, 7 at night. So I'm so fortunate to have gotten that time, and I think I really wanted to go, so I was really urging my party to get there really quick. So we got there really fast, and I scanned my code. I was the scanner of the code, and I got the text that said, "All right, you're ready, let's go." And that text, I gotta say, man, that was like the most exhilarating ding of my phone that I've ever experienced in my life, because I looked down and it says, "All right, your time is ready. Now come enter the Harry Potter store." And the store opens at, I think, like maybe 10, but the QR code gets out at 7. So you have to scan your code. And then I went to a cafe for some Belgian hot chocolate and a chocolate croissant, which is delicious. Then we went to a small store down the road, which was a great experience, and I thought we would be there for maybe a couple hours while maybe we might get called after lunch. But right at 10 I got that text, and that was so amazing that we got in right when we could, right when the store opens. We got our time, and that was really amazing too. It was really fun that we managed to get in at that time because we could spend as long as we wanted. And I know they do say it's a 45-minute experience, but I don't know. It seemed like it was a little bit more than 45 minutes. We spent about 2 hours in there, but it was so amazing. Let's just let's talk about what was actually there. And the second thing you want to keep in mind when going to the Harry Potter store is there's a Harry Potter fan club app. Now, this app, of course, there is a Harry Potter fan club on it. Not surprise, surprise. But there's also a feature where you can scan some secret codes around the store. And if you find all the codes, you get a special reward. And I worked hard for those codes and I got my reward. Now, I won't tell you what it is because, it's kind of half the fun. But I will tell you it has a griffin on it, so that's cool. But yeah, there is a very, very fun tour that you can take. And it's really great because it takes you all around the store and you can see all the amazing things that the store has to offer. It's fascinating to see how much the store has grown and expanded on the Harry Potter fandom. It's just like shown everyone everything that they want to see in one place, which is a really hard thing to do, and they pulled it off. The store really does a great job of showing you around. If you just take a walk, there are 2 floors, and if you just walk around, you just see a tour of Harry Potter. You get a tour of how, the timelines, the characters, the trivia, the special features, just everything is there. And also the design process. This Harry Potter fan club app is, of course, there to give you the awesome prize, but also to show you around the store. And there are some really great things that are featured in this tour that we'll go over later. But the main point is this Harry Potter fan club app is a really great way that the Harry Potter store has integrated, apps and technology and, not really touching anything for COVID, but also just showing everyone around the store in such a way that allows them to enjoy it to the fullest and give every person who goes there a really great experience. And I will say that it does not work on your camera. I saw a couple of people trying to just scan the code. They're seeing people holding up their phones with the special scanner in the Harry Potter fan club app. But you actually have to get the app, not just your regular camera. Oh, excuse me. No, they saw people scanning with the app, and they just use their cameras to scan. You can't use your camera; it doesn't work. It's not a QR code. You have to use your app to actually do the scanning. But with your camera, it doesn't work with the QR code when it goes outside. In 7 o'clock. I'm giving all the tips. You gotta listen closely because these are the juicy details. Okay, so bottom line, get the Harry Potter fan club app. It will help you out so much. It gives you a great tour of the store, and it is fantastic if you want an extra layer of Harry Potterness. Right when you walk in the store, there's something called the Wand Hall. In the Wand Hall, there are, drum roll please, wands. That was, wow, what a surprise. There are wands in the Wand Hall, but this Wand Hall is right when you walk in the store. There is a little place for, there's like on t-shirts, and there's a huge phoenix hanging from the ceiling. But if you walk straight down, you get to the Wand Hall, and boy, is this so amazing. It's kind of like Ollivander's shops with all these shelves with different wands scattered all down the hall. And in these shelves are wands, countless wands, and there are these big screens that are showing which characters have which wands. There are like specific character wands. You can make your own custom wand. You can engrave it, that's cool. And there are also some house wands. If you walk down the Wand Hall and then turn right, there's a little section that is, yes, little, but it is really cool. There are some house and Hogwarts wand. There's Phoenix wand, Raven wands, a Snake wand. There's a Hogwarts wand but by far my favorite one was the Thestral wand. It was a wand that, of course, was a Thestral, and that was really, really cool. It was a really nice wand. Over on my Instagram, the Potter Discussion, at the Potter Discussion, I posted a ton of pictures, and those weren't even all the pictures, and Instagram only lets me post 10 at a time, and I shared with you my favorite 10, but still, there's so many of those pictures. But those wands, the house wands, it was really cool to see how the houses were really shown in these different wands, and the houses like don't really have their specific things. They don't have their specific. I mean, I was gonna say they don't have their specific traits, but I mean that for wands, if you're in Slytherin, there isn't a specific Slytherin wand, but now with the Harry Potter store, there is, which is a cool thing to see, especially because Hogwarts is a place where there's just so many wands there, and to see that there are Hogwarts wands that you can get, and Gryffindor wands, and Slytherin wands, and Ravenclaw wands, and Hufflepuff wands. It's just cool to see that Hogwarts is really getting, the wands for Hogwarts, not the wands for the students. And the Harry Potter store is selling these wands, I'm pretty sure, just because, for this exact reason. If you don't have a specific wand for yourself, you just get a house wand, a Hogwarts wand, whatever your wand is, which is a really nice thing to do, especially because, I've said that twice, but still, especially because Hogwarts is really I feel like an underrepresented part of the match. And it sounds crazy to say that, but it does seem that is part of the problem, that Hogwarts's wands just don't exist. You can't get a wand that is a Hogwarts wand. And it seems like that's because Hogwarts is just a place where the wands are, not where the wands are made or even are featured in. Your Hogwarts wand is something that you just don't get because the wand is for you. But it's nice to see that now there is a wand for Hogwarts. It's a weird thing to say, but I know. It's nice that Hogwarts is now getting its own wand and not just having these other people's wands always in the mix. As we all know, the movies had to have their own props, the wands that the actors hold, the snitches in the Quidditch games. And the Harry Potter store has those props. It's weird to say it, but the Harry Potter store has gathered some of those original props, and they have scattered them all around the store, which is amazing. It's crazy. It's insane that they managed to get those props, and they are the real props. Like we were just talking about the wand hall, they have the original Harry wand, they have the original Ron wand, the original Hermione wand that the actors held. Daniel Radcliffe held the wand that is in the display. That is his wand, which is just like, it's mind-boggling that the Harry Potter store managed to get those. And I'm sure they have like 20,000 of just Harry wands that Daniel Radcliffe held in the movie, just in a warehouse. They just picked out one and put it in a case. But still, that's the wand that he used. And there's the one that Hermione used and Ron used. I said that again, but the original props are a really nice touch, and it kind of really works with the whole vibe of the store, with all of these, actual props and all the things that you can get. Of course, actually, I saw a sign where you could get the original props, and it was something like $2,000. It was something crazy like that. I mean, maybe it wasn't an original prop, but it was $2,000 for something, like maybe a custom engraving or custom robe, something like that. It was $2,000 for, a special Harry Potter store item. And I understand why some people would get, $2,000, and I would totally get it if it wasn't $2,000, but $2,000 for something? I mean, I don't know, man. That seems like a little much. But back to the original props. If I can think of all of them, I definitely can't, but I know there was the Trios wands, there was definitely a snitch, there was the Death Eater's mask, Tom Marvolo's ring. That's all I can remember. Oh, and the Riddle's diary. That's all I can really think of off the top of my head right now. But in addition to these, wands and snitches and props and merchandise scattered around the store, we have these original props, which is really, really a cool thing to have. And in addition to these new props, we have the, memorabilia that you can get for yourself. you can get the one that you see in the display, which is a really nice touch to add to the magic. And it seems crazy to say this, but I do think that the Harry Potter store could have done with more of these props. It was really, that was the big shock for me. And as much as I loved just traversing these long halls of just Harry Potter, it was the original props that I saw that I was really like, wow, that is amazing. So if they could come up with more of these original props, that would really help the store, and it would really be, I mean, honestly, it would be great press just to have more original props. But still, the Harry Potter store has so many original props that they don't have enough. That sounds weird to say. They have too many, but they don't have enough. And if they're featuring these original props in such a way that they're presenting them as, like not the main attraction, or if they're not the main attraction, they have way too many of them. But if they are, then they don't have enough, if that makes sense. So they really have to decide if they're just gonna have a couple, as the, right when you walk in, that's like the wow to get you into the store. Or if that's gonna be, one of their main points, they have to get more of them. And they're not, but in theory, it would be great. They're not gonna adjust their store's policies and, get more of these props, because they've spent a while building these stores, which is, it took a while to make those stores, so they're not gonna adjust it, but they didn't really think that through. They didn't think through that they had to make the original props a standard item or a background item. And they have too many for a background item, but they don't have enough for a standard item, which is unfortunate because the original props is a good thing to capitalize on. That's a really, really cool thing to see for a fan of Harry Potter, not really interacting with, the fan community. I know a lot of, especially younger readers, they don't really interact with fandom as a whole. So their Harry Potter store is a really great way to do that. And the original props is a great way to see the movies. It's a great way to see what you've been reading about, or see what you've been, seeing, or watching rather, on the movies. But bottom line, I really wish the original props had been thought through better, mostly because I would have liked to see more of them or less of them, depending on which way the scales would have tipped. Another one of the standout items in the Harry Potter store is the Mina Lima exhibit. So for those of you who don't know, Mina Lima are the team of designers who made the Harry Potter art. These two people who basically created more or less everything. They did all the art, and you can go into their room of the store and you can see everything. You can get original things, you can get high quality prints, you can see, letters coming out of fireplaces, and the design process, and modeling different animals and creatures and people for the movies. There was a lot of thought that went into the Harry Potter design. That just really seems like that was the last thing. That is what the stores that's what the movies came up with, and the books just decided on right away. But there's so much more than just that. There's so much more design that goes into these things than just what came out the other end. And the Mina Lima exhibit is really why, this is a really great way to see how that design process was. And you can see the first design, the last design, and the in-betweens of how everything came out. And I can tell you that there was so much thought, especially, that went into the Deathly Hallows. That was probably the most thought out thing, because it's such an influential part of the books. They really had to make sure that it was perfect, that it was exactly the way they wanted it, that it conveyed the right message, was easy enough to put on screen, and was also, it had the right meaning, and it was what we read in the books, and it came across well with the readers and the listeners, and the watchers, rather. It just takes so much to design everything, and that's not even counting the chapters. There are hundreds of chapters in Harry Potter, and they just designed them all. Just did them all. They just drew all of them. They summarized the chapter with an image. How can you do that? And I'm sure they got paid great for it, and they did a really great job, as of course we can see. But it's such a hard thing to do. It seems impossible to design these countless things that'll be seen by hundreds of millions of people. Yeah, that job, it just seems like such a big thing. But that's the Mina Lima exhibit, and the word Mina Lima comes from the last names of the two designers. So for any confusion, that's that. But probably my favorite part of the Mina Lima exhibit is like a glass case. There was a glass case right in the middle of the room, and it was showing off the high points, the middle points, and the low points. I should say the beginning, the middle, and the end of each design process. That showed the Deathly Hallows, that showed a bunch of prints, that showed a bunch of rings and pens and quills and owls and just so much, especially house elves. There are a lot of house elf designs in there. I mean, a house elf is a really difficult thing to design and conceptualize in your brain, but I really liked the way that these things were portrayed as a thing that was being designed from the very beginning. And although I know that the design process was much more difficult than it seems, it was really amazing to see, and it was really interesting to see how much effort went into every design. And it seems like it should be more than just an exhibit at a store. I mean, what I meant to say was, it is much more than a design. It's just how the movies and the books and just how this Harry Potter story comes across to the world. How the art portrays the story and how the world can see exactly what they're reading and read exactly what they're seeing, if that makes sense. The chapter picture and the Deathly Hallows, in addition to, Harry's scar and glasses, the Deathly Hallows is probably one of the most difficult things to design. And it seems like now a lot of people don't realize just how difficult it was, because they just think, oh, well, you just write a triangle, a circle, and a line. It's not that hard to make. But it's not the making of the actual thing. It's the thought that goes behind the symbol. And that's why being a designer is so hard. I mean, if you're listening and you're a designer, you know how hard it is to just come up with an idea and make it and, redefine it and just put in so much effort into these things that you just come out with this something that is so simplistic but so influential. That's really how Mina Lima has thrived, and that's why it's such a great part of the Harry Potter store. So, in the Harry Potter store, there are the main exhibits, there are the main attractions, but there are also these little creative things that are hidden throughout the store, and that's what we are going to be talking about now. So, these little creative things are just things that you maybe don't notice, that aren't, brought to attention, but are there nonetheless. And it's so exciting and so cool to see and think about, because it's kind of like the movies. There's Peter Pettigrew on a tree. There's, the posts are actually wands, and there are letters inside the suitcases. And then one of the exhibits, there's owls flying, floating candles, and these things are really, really, really cool. So here's just a quick list. I mentioned pretty much all of them, but I'll go into more detail. So starting off with probably the most obvious and maybe my favorite is the posts of the railings and the stairs. So if you walk in the store and you go all the way towards the center, there's a huge hippogriff that rotates, kind of like Dumbledore's office. And that's kind of the middle of I don't know what you would call it, like a spiral. Of course, it's called the spiral staircase that goes down to the first floor. And in these stairs, of course, there are railings and stuff, and every so often there's a wand that, instead of just a piece of metal, there's a wand that's a post, which is really cool. And on the pedestal of this hippogriff that is in the middle of the pawn store is a really, really, really clever thing. There are Dumbledore quotes engraved on this stone. Some of my favorites are, you one can never have enough socks. Even in the darkest of times, one just have to remember to turn on the light. Stuff like that, the classics. And that was a really, really cool thing to see because there are just these things that are hidden in the movies. And if you see these things and if you notice these things, it's almost like you're living Harry Potter. And that's another great effect of this store. You can live in the world that you have loved for so long. You can, experience, you can be these characters and just traverse these stores. And it's just a really cool thing that if you include these, things like the Harry Potter store did, it's a really, fun thing to include. That they, put in these Easter eggs that were also in the movies. It seems like Harry Potter is just coming to life in the store. And there are floating candles, like I mentioned, in one corner. There are a ton of just fun little knickknacks that you can get, and things that you maybe aren't supposed to see, like things that you don't notice but are still there. Like every so often, in the Slytherin section, you will hear parcel tongue, which is pretty cool. And there's the basilisk, a big okay, quick ramble here. That basilisk is huge. So if you don't know what I'm talking about, there's a Slytherin section of the store, and there's a basilisk that is ginormous. Seriously huge. That's hanging from the ceiling. It's like parts of it are coming out of the ceiling. That's just really cool. And that's another one of those cool Easter eggs that I just have to mention here. It's a really, really amazing thing to see that there are these, huge things that are hanging from the ceiling, floating candles, Peter Pettigrew, wand posts, engravings, hippogriffs, butterbeer, wands. There's so many of these little creative things that are so cleverly hidden throughout the store. It really feels like your world is kind of colliding with Harry's world, which is a really, really awesome thing that the store managed to do. It managed to bring you into the world and collide your world with the wonderful and magical world of Harry Potter. Now we move on to talking about what I got in the Harry Potter store, because it is just that. It is a store. It is a museum store, awesome thing that a lot of people spend a lot of money every single day. And I did spend some of my money too. And I got two things. So this is just a quick segment. I just want to share with you some of the amazing things that I found. And one of those was a cool bracelet. A little bracelet that you could put on these charms. And I'm not one for jewelry and stuff like that, but this bracelet is really cool. I'm wearing it right now. I won't jingle jangle just because it's kind of a loud jingle jangle, but I got 3 charms and the bracelet. I got an owl charm, a time turner, and a Deathly Hallows. I only choose 1 charm to wear at a time in the day just because it's really loud. It's really annoying and loud for everyone around me, so I always just choose 1 charm to wear, and I'm wearing the Deathly Hallows charm today, which is a really, fun thing to do, just because you can remember your time in the Harry Potter store, which is a fun thing. And it is just that. It is a Harry Potter store. And a lot of people think that it's more of a museum, and they're right. But the whole concept of the store is that you go there and you see what you want and you buy it. But the hidden art of shopping is you look at the things like a museum. You examine what you have to buy. And it's the examining part that I was really a fan of, and it's the examining part that I think most people enjoy, because of course you aren't looking to spend, $100 on a stainless steel dark mark bracelet. That bracelet was so expensive. I'm sorry, another rant, but I went to this jewelry thing and I saw that there was a dark mark bracelet, and I was like, that's pretty cool. I might get that one. And they were like, yeah, it's great. It's made with this awesome material. It's $100, but that's not important. I was like, what? $100? And the necklace was cheaper than the bracelet. I mean, cool material aside, come on, $100. I know they're trying to make money with great quality stuff, but they could at least make it like $50. I mean, something like that. So I got this other charm bracelet. It was like $10. So it was a great trade-off, but rant over. Cut. Okay. So the things that I got in addition to this bracelet were, is a statue of a bow truckle. And this is definitely my favorite because I'm pretty sure it's supposed to be Pick from Fantastic Beasts. You know, the little one that was staying with Newt. And it's the Fantastic Beasts version of the bow truckle. And what it is this, plastic figurine of a bow truckle. And it is in a little case on some leaves. It's really cute and funny. And I saw it. I was like, I have to get it. I'd have to. I'm obliged to get this bow truckle. It was just so funny. I'm looking at it right now. It has its tongue out and it's like walking, and that was so funny. But it was not funny when I was trying to get out of the box, because that box, I'm telling you, I don't know what was going on, but that thing, it was like glued. It was super glued. It was duct taped. It was like strung down with these plastics and like zip tied to the case. Oh my gosh. I half the battle was, willing myself to start the process of getting it out, but I had to take the glue off, then unstick the tape, then cut the plastic, and then take it out of the case, and then open the case. The case that it came in had plastic on it. The plastic had plastic, and the glue was taped down. The glue was taped to the package. I'm not talking. I can't. Man, this is what our episodes have come down to. Just me ranting about how annoying packaging is. But I got a bow truckle statue, so that's cool. And I really love it because I put it on my nightstand, and whenever I wake up and I say, "Hi, Pick. Hi, Pick. How's it going? How's it going?" And we're buds now. Me and Pick. Trust me, I'm not going crazy. Just know that. But let's get out of this segment, please. Let's just go. Now I want to talk about my favorite parts of the store. So as much as it seems like this, everything should be amazing, there are some parts that really really were amazing and cool. That's really stood out to me. And I think we should start with, I'll start with the original props. That was definitely one of my favorites. And mostly, it would be number one, except for my, rant before about how if it's a background, there's too much, and if it's a foreground, there's too little, whole thing. But I really like the original props because it really takes you into the movie, like I said before. It really envelops you in the world. You're just surrounded by, the things that were on camera that you've seen. And I could just stare at that for hours and think, Harry held that. Harry caught that. Ron, threw that. There was nothing that Ron threw, but I'm just making examples. But it's really something that you can just envelop yourself in. And it's a really great thing to just look at and just think, it's just too much to wrap your mind around those are the things that were really used. You see it on camera and you go, well, of course, it's in a warehouse somewhere. I have no access to it, but it's just there. It's there. And one of the, more prominent props is the Death Eater masks. So it doesn't seem like it, but those were the focal point of the Battle of the Order of the Phoenix. And of course, as I am saying, the Battle of the Order of the Phoenix, by far my favorite scene. But that was really cool for me too, because I love the Battle of the Order of the Phoenix. And it was really awesome to see that the actual masks were there, that the actors used to, cover their faces, and they were really there, the actual mask. I just can't, it's just so, what? So the actual, real, awesome masks, the wands, the snitches, the rings, the diaries, I encourage you, please look up this. It's just crazy. But it is lower on my list just because of the, the background, foreground, too little, too much thing. I'm never gonna stop that. That's gonna be my one grudge. But another one of my favorite parts was the merchandise, the house room, and the house room. Oh, speaking of the house room, the original prop in the house room was the diadem of Ravenclaw. I'm just remembering that. Okay, moving on. So the house room, there was some really great Harry Potter merchandise you could get. There was cups, there was stickers, bumper stickers, shirts, t-shirts, pants, sweatshirts, socks, whatever you can get. And someone who was going with me, she wasn't really a big fan of Harry Potter, but she got some Harry Potter socks. They were that cool. So in the house room, there were these, just everything you can imagine. Each corner was a house, and there was like TVs like flashing the characters and big scenes, and there was shirts and there was jerseys and everything like that. Everything that you could possibly think of, there was in that house room, of everything that you would ever need in a house merchandise store. Honestly, you could just spend your whole time in that, just looking at all the things they had to offer. Anything you could imagine they had. Of course, they had house wands, like I said before. They have everything you could possibly want of house merchandise is in that house room. So keep in mind, if you go there, get into the house room, because it is amazing and you will see everything you've ever wanted in your whole life. And the last thing that I want to talk about is, this is a milestone for Harry Potter. I have touched on this before, but this is really something that it just shows how much Harry Potter has grown. And I say this a bunch, but this Harry Potter store was really, really a big thing. And not only is it a huge milestone for Harry Potter, but it's also a huge milestone for, the people personally. Because there's the fandom and there's the story, but then there's you and there's me. We see each other as the, sole people who read Harry Potter. You don't really think about other people reading the books when you're reading the books. It feels like your characters. So when the book was released to a movie, you can say like, wow, like it just feels so personal. That's why reading a book is so amazing, because it's just like it's your world. You can envelop yourself in something that you love, and this Harry Potter story is a great way to show that. It just feels so personally satisfying. You're in this world, and this world was creating a store, and now you can go to the store and you can see how much your characters have had an impact on the world. And then that also feeds into, you can meet other people from the fandom and see other people who have these personal connections with these characters, and that in turn turns into the marriage of these two different kinds of concepts, that your personal characters are really everyone's characters, but that makes them all the more interesting because you think that you see them in one way and someone else sees them in the other. There's just so much to talk about, and I wish I could just go on for hours, but unfortunately we are out of time for today. Thank you so much for listening. If you have any questions, comments, topics, Quizmaster questions, or jokes, please send them in an email. My email is thepotterdiscussion@gmail.com. That is thepotterdiscussion@gmail.com. If you could just scroll down in the podcast app of choice, tap those 5 stars, or even leave a written review, that can help me out more than you can ever know, and it helps other listeners find the show. As always, use information to your advantage, and I will see you later.